episode of Words of Wisdom, and today's message is all about overcoming difficulty and the steps you need to take in order to overcome them. So when we're to look and examine difficulty from a boxing perspective, there's three main areas where these difficulties will lie. The first area we can look at is thinking about loss. So when I say loss, I'm referring to losing in the ring, whether that's by point, split decision, or knockout. Loss is a difficulty. It's a thing which is a struggle to have to overcome. Number two is looking at injury. So as an athlete, oftentimes we're putting our bodies to work, training really hard, which can lead to injuries. And that's something that can be a difficulty and hard to overcome. And then thirdly, we're looking at expenses. As a boxer, oftentimes you're not going to be getting that financial support that you're looking for. You're training super hard and you may not be pro, and therefore you have expenses, which is taking up a part of your mind in terms of how to cover your expenses, whether that's traveling to or from fights or even just looking at your day-to-day costs. Even as a professional, you might not be earning the type of money that you need, and as you're coming to the end of your career, looking to take the next step, that's a difficulty that you'll be faced with in terms of understanding how you're going to deal with it. So what I want to speak about today is looking at how we can address these areas and what we can do to be able to ensure that we will come across difficulties, but how we can adapt to these difficulties so we can optimize our situation. Looking at the first one, looking at loss, I want us to go back to Sugar Ray Leonard versus Roberto Duran. Now, essentially, Sugar Ray Leonard, when he fought him first time, lost his fight. Roberto Duran was putting the pressure on him, really hurt him, and won the fight. Now, what did Sugar Ray Leonard do? Did he go home, just sleep? Sugar Ray Leonard go to sleep and just say, a loss is a loss, and then just sort of put his head in the sand? No. What he had to do is he had to focus. He had to reset himself and set a game plan. So therefore, he was able to adapt it. So the second fight was not like the first fight. And that's when we had the situation which everyone calls the no mass, when Roberto Duran called it a day in the fight. So what did we learn from that? We learned that you had to really just sort of focus. Rather than seeing it as a loss, taking it as a lesson. Draw your game plan to reset things and then work hard moving forward. That's the first example. Second example of a more recent situation is looking at Anthony Joshua. Anthony Joshua, heavyweight champion of the world, had the opportunity to fight in America for the first time against Andy Ruiz Jr. What happened? Dropped him, then he ended up getting knocked out and beaten and lost his heavyweight titles. Now, this was somebody who was a world-class boxer, but was nowhere near expected to beat Anthony Joshua. So what did Anthony do? He came back, he focused, he put the work in, he set out a game plan and adapted his style. So the second fight, he was a lot more fluid and got the result and the outcome he was looking for. So that's how you overcome difficulty when it comes to in the ring. Secondly, let's look around injury. So if we were to look at it from an injury perspective, it's with wear and tear in the body, whether that's looking at sort of shoulders, knees, eye injuries, jaw injuries, many different wrists, so many different injuries can happen in and outside the ring. But there's an example I want to take us to, which are more severe examples and extreme, which is looking at Errol Spence Jr. So Errol Spence Jr., he had a car accident where he was driving his, Ferrari or Lamborghini, crashed it at ridiculous miles per hour, ended up being hospitalized, lucky to have still be alive, apparently because he didn't have his seatbelt on. That's what saved him. And many people thought his career would be over. But what actually happened, he ended up taking the time, doing the work, resting, recovering, and then it enabled him to come back to still have his titles. Fought, not an easy fight to come back, but fought Danny Garcia and came in and got a unanimous decision. So what we learned from that is that even from the most extreme of injuries, you can come back, you can do the work, take your time. And it's the power of visualization. This is when the mind comes in. It's a battle of the mind. Really being ready to put the work in and take your time to build yourself back up. An older example of greatness when it comes to overcoming injuries is a guy called Vinnie Paz. Vinnie Paz was an ex-world champion, fought in the welterweight division, and he was around the time when there was the great four horsemen who were around. So there was Sugar Ray Leonard, Roberto Duran, Marvin Hagler, and Tommy Hitman Hearns. Now, with this, what ended up happening is Vinnie Paz, similar to Errol Spence, he had a car accident. So again, this actually left him with his a broken neck. He had to have a halo around to protect his head. And one of the things the doctor said is you might not walk again, let alone fight again. And what he was known for saying is he said, look, you don't know what kind of man I am. I'm either going to step back into that ring or I'm going to die trying. You don't know what kind of man I am. That's what he told himself. That's what he told others. The power of affirmations, self-talk. Self-talk is critical to ensure that you're able to overcome difficulties. Difficult times come, but how we react to them is up to us. So when you can react in a way whereby you are focused, you really believe that you can overcome that situation, that gives you the power to take the steps necessary in order to get there. So self-talk is something that Vinnie Paz really did. Similar, it also took his time, did the work necessary, and then when he came back, he didn't just come back to fight anybody. He fought the likes of Roberto Duran, ended up beating him twice over the course of the rest of his career. So this shows that any setback you might have is only a setup for a comeback, if you believe it. Now, we've looked at losses in the ring. We've looked at injury. The last part we want to look at is really looking at our expenses, because money is a factor that will affect all of our lives. It's the commodity and the currency that we use in order to exchange goods. And oftentimes as a boxer, you may not feel like you're being rewarded for the effort that you're putting in, because you're working extremely hard to get yourself, your body in shape, your mind sharp, but might not be seeing the financial fruit from that. So what do I encourage you to do in this scenario? Look to learn how to turn your passion into a career. So turn your passion into profit. What do I mean by this? What can you do? If you're a professional boxer, great, you can compete. Therefore, if you need to earn more, it might be about learning how to sell more tickets, developing other areas around your sport, which is going to help to increase your income. Perhaps you're not a professional boxer, you're an amateur or white collar, you do this for fun. That is okay too. But if you want to increase your income, it's about what can you do to add extra revenue streams or currently build what you're doing. There's a great philosopher called Jim Rohn, and he says, what you need to do is work harder on yourself and not on your job. What does that mean? Working harder on yourself means taking the time to really look at see how you can develop as a person. So find a way to turn your passion into a career. If you're into fitness, perhaps become a personal trainer. This is what I did. It enabled me to spend more time around fitness, around training, and doing something I loved. Helping other people on their journeys too is very rewarding, and which I like. Create a plan. So really create a plan of what you want to do. Set something out, write it down, set that goal, and then work towards it. Creating a plan will give you that sort of roadmap to keep you focused and in line towards helping to increase your income to help sort of balance out your expenses. Also, you can look to see what you can decrease in terms of reducing your expenses. So there's certain parts that might be able to help there. And a way to do that is by seeking help. So I am no way a financial advisor. So go and look for a financial advisor, someone who can guide and support you towards helping you to make better decisions when it comes to your finances, and educating yourself in this domain as well, so you know what's right and what's not right. So with these messages, I hope you're now able to overcome the difficulties that life throws at you, whether that's loss in the ring or out the ring. The same philosophies apply. Focus, create a game plan, and work hard. Injuries, do the work necessary, take your time, visualize yourself, what you're going to do, and also have that positive self-talk to propel you forward. And expenses, looking at how you can turn your passion into a career, turn it into a profit, create a plan, and seek help. I hope this message serves you. Feel free to put a comment below to share which part you feel, which difficulty you're going to be able to use, which lesson you'll be able to use to help you with any difficulties that you're facing. Stay blessed.